The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Earnestly Podcast. I'm the host, Ernest E.J. Christian, coming to you on a Tuesday, actually, August 13, 2019. And I'm feeling pretty good, actually. Feeling pretty good. Just got back recently, a couple days ago, from our little mini vacation with my family, my dad's side of the family. Basically, our 6th annual Cousins Weekend that I actually only attended for the first time this weekend. I never attended prior to that for a reason, many reasons. In the past, things come up. Just able to go. And this year was a lot more convenient for us because it was in Orlando. The first 4 years was in Memphis, and then last year was in Charlotte. And last year we had definitely made plans to go, and then we just couldn't make it last minute. Something came up last minute we had to take care of. This year we made sure we went. They made it convenient for us for at least for me and my wife and my family to make it. See, it was in Orlando, 2.5 hours away. Stay at a nice hotel overnight. Would have loved to stay longer. We had obligations here at home to take care of, work, in preparing our oldest kid for school, who starts first grade this week. So a lot of things going on there. But I'll tell you, I personally needed this trip because I really had a rough summer, to be honest with you. I've had a pretty challenging summer, not to say that I'm in trouble or none of that thing. But I've had some challenges, I think I've addressed some of that on the show in the last few months. Dealing with some anxiety and a couple things here I'm trying to work on. Obviously, it's one reason why I deactivated my Facebook back in June was because I needed, I needed to breathe. I needed to lessen my load. Things that are distraction, things that are not a priority. I need to kind of get it out of the way and focus on the stuff that do matter. And, dealing with anxiety to some degree. I mean, I've never been diagnosed necessarily, but I know for a fact I do deal with it because, people say, you do have symptoms, so trying to deal with that, of course, and trying to deal with, the challenges of being a father and a married man, especially the challenges of being a father because, you have 2 kids, 2 boys, both very challenging in their own ways. 6-year-old who's very independent, very, very headstrong, whatnot. My 2-year-old is still a little bit of a load. She's the reason why my wife and I decided to have a 3rd kid because he's like having 2 kids in one. And he was actually a challenge this weekend too, to some degree. Again, he's going through the motions. Terrible 2s, terrible 3s, whatever you want to call it. But I don't love him any less. They're still amazing, and obviously you still try to enjoy the process of where they're at right now. I'm still enjoying the process, even though it is challenging. And I think also my wife and I, with our work schedules being opposite, and again, we are blessed to be able to have jobs that are flexible for us to take care of our kids without having to hire a babysitter. And the little times we need help, with changeovers from work. If there's a day her and I work the same day and she happens to come home from work a little bit later than when I go to work, my mother-in-law comes in, takes care of the kids for a couple hours, or just if we want to do a date night, a date day, my wife, my mother-in-law comes in a couple hours, and takes care of the kids, and she's great with the kids. So, it works out great for us and whatnot. But there is some wear and tear too. There is some wear and tear with the schedule. And, I think it started to show recently. I was looking at some pictures from the weekend, and I look a little older. I'm turning 40 next year, and people always say that I look like I'm 32, 31, whatever. I don't know, maybe because I'm black, because I have colored skin, probably. We have a good looking family. Let's put it that way. But I'll be honest with you, I look at some of these pictures as of late, the last month of myself, and I've got some more gray. I'm losing hair on top now, which people don't really notice anymore because I don't really keep my hair's always bald anyway. But when I do grow it out, you can tell that it's got a little more patchy. I look a little older. I look a little worn. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm dealing with things here that in the case of being the family man and schedules and dealing with crying babies and, a 6-year-old that sometimes can be a bit much. He has his moments. It's not easy. And so, but you just press forward. You do what you can, and also trying to keep my health in order, trying to eat healthier, I'm trying to get now to, a workout schedule now to where I can, start taking care of myself to where I can live to see my kids have their own kids, and maybe down the road their kids have their own kids. I don't know. But there's a lot of challenges, a lot of challenges right now, but, you still press forward, you still be blessed, you still thank God that you have what you have. I'm thank God every day I have what I have. And I'll be honest with you, this weekend was needed. Like, it was really cool to go to be around people who I care about, who I love very much, and who have the similar challenges themselves too. They've I'm not calling names, but people who said that they've had their own challenge with being first time parents and dealing with the adjustment, and that's quite normal. It's quite normal to do that. It's good to know that people are in the same boat as you. But it was good also to have built-in distractions. Because of the nature of the weekend. Being, of course, myself, my family, my sister's family, and her kids, my brother, and then you have all our cousins, and then their kids now. My oldest son, especially, Eli, spent a great amount of time with his cousins, this weekend. And it was a built-in distraction for him to get, kind of off, not off my back. It sounds bad, but off, kind of, a little break. And even to some degree, my 2-year-old, had little moments with his other, cousins that are closer to his age. So it was cool to have a built-in distraction. And of course, the aunts and the uncles trying to hold him and, play with him, it presented some time to some degree for some, prosperity, some peace, a minor, very small, but still a little bit of peace. Because we went to Disney World also, Friday, leading up to the weekend, and, it had a good time, but God, it was hot out there, number one. It rained after a while too, as well. And it was a little, at the end, a little stressful. But all in all, it was a great weekend. I had a great time. Hopefully next year we can make it again. I think next year we're planning to go to Connecticut. Is going to be the place where we're going to be holding it next year. We'll see what happens. I mean, obviously it's a pretty penny for us to do this, to take off work and spend money to go somewhere. But I also think it's I also think it's necessary to still, have those built-in distractions, those built-in things to do, to look forward to, because you don't want your life to be all about work. And that's kind of sort of what we've been going through the last year now, my wife and I, that we've dedicated this time to just do what we gotta do to make sure the kids are in order, make sure they have their food to eat, clothes in the back, all that, and us too. It's work. That sometimes I wonder if that somehow, hurts the things that do matter too. Sometimes you do need a break. Sometimes you need a vacation. So it's one of those things where you you fight those battles of is this good enough? Is this not good enough? And so, but I will say this weekend was needed. I need this weekend. I'm glad I had it this weekend, and I'm really happy I got to see my family and their kids, and hopefully do it again next year. We'll see. See what happens. So this week, my 6-year-old, as I was saying, he started first grade this week. Started yesterday, actually. Came back home, said he was awesome. He said he loved it. And then today, apparently, my wife took him in to school this morning, and apparently he was complaining that the day is too long and all that. I guess he didn't want to wake up this morning. He's gotten used to sleeping in during the summer. Like, typically he goes to school for 8 o'clock, which means he has to wake up about 7:05, 7:10 the latest. And during the summer, he would sleep until sometimes 8, 9 o'clock in the afternoon, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I guess he's gotten used to that now. So I guess the adjustment now is him to wake up early in the morning. But I've also, the last week or two, on purpose, moved up his sleeping schedule because he needed to start getting used to getting up early in the morning anyway. So I don't know where this is coming from. But, Yeah, today he was saying that he you know he didn't want to go to school. It was a long day, and I get all that, but you got to do it. You got to do it. But you can see the change though. It's a big difference already. You're already seeing in kindergarten, first grade. Like you can see I was looking at pictures of him last year versus this year starting school. It's a big difference in how he looks, obviously. But it's a really big difference in my opinion. And then now with school, and this is going to probably impact the show to some degree because now instead of him getting homework on a monthly basis, because last year in kindergarten he used to get homework where it was a packet and you had the whole month to work on it until the rest of the month to work on it and then return the work to, at the end of the month. Well, this year, according to his teacher, he'll be doing homework every day. He'll have something to work on every day. So because of that, it's going to require my presence even more, my wife's presence even more, whoever's home, to be involved to help with his homework every day. So that could also impact this show to some degree because typically around this time of year, especially in the fall, I tend to do more shows a week, with football and returning and, baseball playoffs and other things. And especially with the election coming up in the next year or so, that ramps up too. But basically I do more shows, a week around this time of year. And that may not, that might have to kind of go by the wayside to some degree. We'll see. I'm not going to make any promises or make any commitments though, but being even more involved with my kid and being able to make sure he's doing well in school and daily homework, that may impact, the show. But again, you've seen the differences already too. We went to an open house last week. It was good. Like his teacher a lot. I was telling my mom that she reminded me of her. I don't know why, because they look nothing alike, but it was just the vibe I got. I know it's weird. But yeah, first grade, in the books. You still got another 2 years from my youngest Logan to start school. He's 2 years old, so he has another 2 years before he starts BBK, or preschool. For some of you guys that listen to the podcast that aren't necessarily down south, but yeah, it's another stepping stone, another achievement here in the Christian family of having a first grader. Again, he had a good time at Disney World as well too. Disney World, I tell you, Disney World is, I'll say as much. Disney World is equally good and evil. Like, obviously it's good for the kids. My wife loves it. She goes all the time. She's going back next month for the opening of the Star Wars park. But good God, money wise, oh my gosh, they just rob you. And to be fair, my wife and I, we've gone through the years. We have annual passes, weekday passes, but annual passes. Her and I mastered for years, prior to having kids, how to survive going to Disney World without having to spend a lot of money. What ways to do it? Like we used to be able to eat before we came to the park. We go to a restaurant that's a lot cheaper than going to a place on the grounds, and we found ways to skate, spend a lot of money on the Disney grounds because everything's overpriced. Everything, sodas, waters. You can get the free water in a cup. That I found out this week, this weekend, that you can do that still, which is good. But it's still a pretty penny to do Disney World, and and having the kids with us, it's harder because they want toys, they want this. You gotta feed them, all that, and even if you do the things you can do around it, it's still not enough. I mean, it is expensive as hell, and then the prices are going up now too because they've now built in the Star Wars park, which is opening in 2 weeks. So with that now in part of the spectacle, it's even more expensive now to go to Disney World. So man, they got that thing lock, line, and sinker. I mean, Disney in general is taking over everything. You have I'll get to it in a second about the Disney bundle. It will not. They're taking over the world. I always say that there are two companies to me I think are evil, but almost necessities of my family. Target is one, and Disney is the other one. So it's one of those things where it is what it is. You almost have to accept it, and I don't know. It's just one of those things. Anyway, so last week I was reading an article. I think it was in The Guardian. And WrestleMania 36. Well, although they don't number WrestleMania anymore, but it's still 36. And WrestleMania 36 is going to be in Tampa, Florida, here, not in the state. And I actually would like to go, but unfortunately, WrestleManias tend to always happen around the week of my anniversary. So unless my wife gives me a mulligan to go, I probably won't be going. And there's an article about Hulk Hogan and whether or not his time has passed in terms of the recognition and the appreciation, because he's gone through Hulk Hogan in the last couple of years has gone through a lot of negative press, a lot of let's just say the bloom of the rose, if you will, for Hogan, and basically Hogan is no longer looked at as the number one guy in the history of the company. I guess many people, we're now another generation removed from that time. Now I'm a Hogan guy, of course. I think he's, to me, the how do you explain this? He's definitely Mount Rushmore. Because without Hogan, the company's wrestling business is not where it's at. But a lot of this has to do with the fact that Hogan comes back and no one really is moved by what he does anymore. I mean, he was on the Raw reunion a couple weeks ago, and people. I mean, he had a little bit of pop, but it was nowhere close to Steve Austin's pop. And then obviously, the article stated about is it time to move on from the forcing Hogan on our throats now? Because it seems like every couple of years, the WWE, even when they kind of, the last couple of years, after the whole racism thing, the remarks he made that came out, and WWE decided to distance themselves from Hogan to some degree, that they, every couple of years they still tried to bring him back and try to kind of sort of force him down our throat. Like he was at WrestleMania this year, opening the show. No one really, to be honest with you, no one really cared. Like, I watched the show. I watched actually the beginning of that whole segment. No one really cared. People today don't really, I go through message boards. I look at Hogan. I look at Hulk Hogan's, he was on Steve Austin's podcast, recently. And I went through, I saw the announcement on Instagram. And you read through the comments on Twitter or on social media. And people just don't really care. Like you'll still have your fans of the nostalgia like myself and others who still appreciate Hogan, even with the comments he made, that will say, move on, whatever. But people just don't buy it, and I'm starting to get it now. I'm starting to get it because I was listening to that same podcast with Steve Austin, that came out 2 weeks ago. It's a good listen. But Hulk Hogan has this really bad tendency to put himself over more than he has to. Like, some of these stories, he's probably telling the truth in these stories, but he's overselling it to a point where, he's putting himself over in a way where he's this greatest guy. And, look, to me, I don't know why Hogan needs to do this. Like, for me personally, your legacy is your legacy. You are on the Mount Rushmore. I think every person of common sense, whether they like you or not, at the very least recognizes that you are on the Mount Rushmore of all-time greats in wrestling history. No one's arguing that. I don't think anybody's arguing that. But yet, when you hear these interviews of Hogan, and he's putting himself over in such a way, he's talking about how, him and Randy Savage are best friends, and yeah, they're good friends for a little while, but best friends? That's, I would tend to hold off on that a little bit, talking about how, in an interview, he was talking about how, he had the idea to start the Hollywood Hogan character as early as WrestleMania 6 when he was facing Warrior in back in 1990, and certainly that probably was the case at one point because there was rumblings at the time that to keep the Hogan characters fresh, that it may have been a good idea to turn him heel, but they never did that, but he made it sound like that he was the only one pushing that. I don't know. I defend Hogan for many years because he's my favorite, one of my favorites, my top 2 or 3, him and Savage and whatnot. But it gets harder to defend Hogan, and when he's doing these things, and he makes himself look silly in the process. That's the worst part. He makes himself look silly in the process. So, him putting himself over, I don't know why he feels the need to do that all the time, to put himself over like that, when your legacy stands on its own. Hulkamania, I mean, you have an entire era dedicated in your name. Like, the Hulkamania era is a thing. Like, you have the Attitude Era, you have the New Generation, You have Hulkamania era. Why do you feel a need to put yourself way over more than you need to? That's what gets me. That's what really gets me. It's one of those things where, why do you, anyway, so, the only thing I would say, because the article was saying, was talking about, Hogan and whether that makes sense to bring him back for Mania next year, the next one, because there's plans now, there's talk that WWE going to do something with Hogan on the show. And the only reason I'd say it makes sense to do it for this show is because the show's in Tampa. As you know, Hogan lives there, he has, business there, a shop, restaurant I heard he's opening now soon in the same area. So it would make sense from that aspect to do that. But otherwise, I think it's time for WWE to kind of not move away from Hogan, but kind of sort of nudge him a little bit, nudge him to the side a little bit, because I think people today just don't really care anymore. I don't think Hulk Hogan anymore moves the needle in the same way he did maybe 15 years ago when he faced The Rock. I mean, remember in the mid 2000s. Now, granted, I didn't watch much at that time, but there was a second movement of the Hulkamania era then. Or I should say third, because technically WCW was one, but WCW one was kind of lame. But there was a bit of a movement, between 2002, 2005, 2006, where he was still pretty fucking over. Like, the match with The Rock, the match with Vince McMahon, the match with Shawn Michaels. But now, since all this stuff's happened, the sex tape and now the racist comments he made, that's leaked out, people don't want to touch the guy. I mean, people are they're around him, but I don't know. And I'm a guy who forgives. I forgive him. Like, me personally, I forgive him. That's just how I am. But I'm not everybody's wired like me. Everybody is different. And I don't know. I just think that it's almost now pointless for WWE to keep forcing Hogan down our throats, because I don't think people honestly really care anymore. I think you look at the pop that Austin gets now. Austin gets the biggest pop still, probably in the company's history. Actually, let me not even say properly. He does, because even today at the Raw reunion when he came out last, got the biggest pop of the show. And it's a testament to who he is and his popularity. I mean, if you ask me right now, if you ask me 5 years ago who was the most impactful, biggest superstar in the company's history, I was still would have said Hogan. And certainly he's the most influential, I will still say to this day, by virtue of the Hulkamania era and NWO. But who's most popular? Who's the biggest superstar? It's not even close. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's not even close. So, it's just one of those things where, I guess WWE needs to kind of stop forcing this down our throats. Okay, finally, before I go, last week, Disney recently announced that they are going to a bundle. Disney, who also owns Hulu, who also owns ESPN. They're presenting a bundle for $12.99 a month, and that's the bundle. The bundles include ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu. Now, this is a big deal because this is where, Netflix has owned, in terms of the streaming game for the last decade, Netflix has owned it. Even with the creation of other companies, Hulu, of course, created, and, other ones. Netflix has owned it because Netflix has been able to establish a name, create its own content, and be able to sustain that. But now with Disney finally formulating their upcoming, platform with Disney Plus, and now, already has stakes in ESPN, has stakes in Hulu, and being able to present a more cost efficient service now, it's going to put Netflix in a little bit of a bind now. Now, Netflix, to their credit, they are already now a household name. I mean, in fact, I don't think I know anybody who does not have a Netflix account. But, $12.99 is a great deal. $12.99 is phenomenal, because $12.99 presents you, when you have $12.99 with Hulu, which has a way more content, current and as well as current content in terms of TV plus the original content, you have ESPN Plus, obviously for the sports fans like myself. Boy, I do have ESPN Plus also too, so I watch a lot of the on-demand stuff on there too. And then Disney Plus being able to present their Disney, backdrop. Netflix, all their top shows they've had in the last decade a lot of them are ending. Orange is the New Black ends this year. I want to say House of Cards now is ended now because of obviously the whole stuff with Kevin Spacey and all that. That's ended pretty much. Stranger Things are right now at the peak. How long will it go? We don't know. And to give Netflix credit, they were once the company that were able to get rights to old shows like Friends and The Office and other like that, and were able to have that on their platform. But now with NBC, getting their own platform now, they're going to lose those two shows. To their credit, Netflix has been able to sustain by creating their own content. I mean, creating a lot of content of their own. But yet now, even that's slowed down a little bit now. And with Disney now, presenting a price now, that's actually lower than Netflix. Netflix now is at $13.99, I believe. Whereas Disney is $12.99. You're going to get more with Disney Plus by default with the bundle because of the fact that they have different avenues to go in. Whereas Netflix now, can they sustain? Look, I don't think Netflix will be out of business anytime soon, even when Disney Plus comes into the picture. But I am very fascinated to see what is their next game plan. What is the game plan moving forward for Netflix to stiff arm Disney? Because, as I said earlier in the podcast, Disney is equally good and evil. And they have a way, they know how to market themselves in a way where they'll get eyeballs. They're going to get eyeballs. Can Netflix sustain that? What will it take? Would it take creating more content, new content? Would it take taking maybe old shows that other networks gave up on and maybe rebrand them themselves? I don't know. But I would say Netflix is in trouble in terms of owning the field, in terms of lapping the field. That's over now. Netflix, that's going to be over. They'll still be a leader. They'll still be one of, when it comes to streaming, you think Netflix and you think Disney Plus. But the days of Netflix owning the field is about to come to an end. And whatever they do moving forward, it's fascinating. Because Disney, and this is the thing with Disney too also. Disney can take a loss to start this out because they have so much money behind them. They have so much equity that they can afford to take a loss early. They can afford to draw even early for this project, if you want to call it a project, because they are that big. Netflix is huge, obviously, but it still feels like Netflix is kind of a mom and pop. In comparison to Disney, it's like a mom and pop shop. And how well they are able to sustain in these coming years is going to be very, very interesting to look at. So, anyway, we'll call it there for a little bit. I believe, as I said earlier, maybe this coming Thursday, hopefully, we'll have a college football preview podcast with our old friend Antoine Staley, who hasn't been on the podcast in quite a while. College football starts next weekend. Not this weekend coming up, but the weekend after. Granted, it's week 0. It's a soft week, but you have Gators and the Miami Hurricanes and the Florida Gators playing that first weekend, so that's humongous in itself, especially down here in Florida. You have that coming up. Later in the month, we're going to have the NFL Overrunners podcast I do with my friend Zach the Gammon every single year. That'll be coming up. Hopefully, I think we're recording on August 28th, the week after the third preseason week of the NFL season. So that's about it for now. Till next time we do a podcast. Stay up. Love you guys. Take care. God bless, and see you.